Got it. Got it. All right. So from misunderstood to influential, today we're doing a live workshop on how to write emails that resonate, emails that will reach people where it counts and avoid some of those misinterpretations and blowups that you might have experienced with email writing. My name is Melissa. I'm an executive coach and a management consultant. I work with leaders who need to sell ideas to people to get buy-in from their team and to influence others in other departments, as well as managing up to superiors. So there's a lot of people to influence in order to have the impact that we want to have as leaders. And that is easier said than done. So in my work with leaders, I have helped leaders write better emails. So not just improve their verbal communication when they're dealing with their team, but also how to integrate how to be influential in their writing. And I want to share 3 key shifts that they do to become more influential. So you're going to be learning that today. And joining me is Kelsey Ann. Kelsey Ann is part of my team. So I'm just going to pass her the mic here, Kelsey Ann. Tell us a little bit about you and what your intentions are for this session.
So my name is Kelsey Ann, and I'm your marketing director. And I come on these lives to talk about the employee perspective. So we kind of really try to dig into issues that leaders face on the day-to-day and kind of unpack and dig into it. And today I'm just looking to write better emails myself.
Yes. And so there is an article written on this, but this is the first time we do a live about this. This is the behind the scenes work that I do with clients.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that my clients get to do is they get to send me sample emails. So they'll be writing an email. So it's either before they send it out to someone, or after they've sent it out and they know the reaction. And
Right.
I do an audit to their email and I give them feedback. And the feedback that I give them is not just for that email specifically,
Mm-hmm.
but looking at their patterns, like what are they doing? And if I can see 3 emails side by side, then I can see the patterns of how they're writing the emails and those shifts that they can do to write better emails. And after years of auditing emails, there's 3 major things that always come up. And those are the things that I want to share with you today. So I hope you have pen and paper to capture some of these notes. You will want them. But before we get into the shift, I want to just talk about email writing in general. So, have you ever experienced emails being misunderstood? People having a bad reaction, people just totally not getting your intention. And then feeling that frustration that comes with like, but I put time in writing this email and, making it as rational as possible. And they completely misunderstood my intention.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have to spend time managing this relationship and making those corrections so that I can get them back on board.
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey, and what's coming up for you as I'm sharing this?
It makes me wonder how many times I've delivered an email and not recognize what happened on the other end. But also when I receive those emails that I'm just like, oh, like just getting that feeling back of like they didn't clearly communicate, and just feeling that frustration being the receiver of that email. Like, what is this person trying to tell me?
Yeah. So it can be really frustrating for the receiver. And in reality, when we're communicating for the recipient, for them to receive our message. And so from a verbal perspective, you might have been working on delivering your message in a way that is going to be understood by the listener. And if you haven't started to look at that and be intentional about that, I would invite you to start doing that. If we want to communicate better, if we want to deliver messages that resonate, and we want people to buy in and follow us, we need to be thinking about what they need to hear. And a big part of that message, 80% of that message that you're conveying, is nonverbal. It's not just the words that you're using. It's tone, it's body language, it's what you say, what you don't say, what you hold back. When do you take a pause? How long is the pause? It's speed. There's all of these factors that come into communication. And we can't deliver that 80% in a text message or in an email or in whatever other written, a Slack message. So there's a whole lot that the recipient, the reader, is not getting when we choose a written form of communication.
Which often we tend to think that that's the easier way. I'm just going to send a quick email instead of getting on the phone or having a quick Zoom to clarify things. When a lot of the times, then if you're not writing effective emails, that quick little email, I'm just going to take 5 minutes and write this, has now turned into an hour and a half, because now you're having to go back and send multiple emails or have a conversation or whatnot, right?
And clean it up. Yeah. Or you just will never know the impact on the other end, and that impact could affect how the person engages in the project, or how the person wants to work with you, or their lack of, collaboration or whatnot. Like, there's other repercussions that you might not even be realizing, because as we receive communication, we have feelings about that communication. And we have those feelings are then attached to the person sending the communication. And how we feel makes a difference. Engagement is a person's emotional commitment to effort. Do we want to engage people? Well, it depends on how they feel, right? So, what have you learned so far? And if you're joining us, say hi. Ask questions as we're going along. I love questions. I will make this very personal for you.
I've learned, when you put it in perspective of 80% is verbal, is nonverbals, how do you communicate efficiently with that 20, using that 20%? You already know your 80%, that's not going to be there. So how do you make use of that 20%?
Yeah. Now I'm gonna add some information about that 20%. Those words that we're using, we have different associations with those words, right? If I say apple pie, what do you think and feel?
Hungry.
Hungry. Okay.
Hungry. Yeah.
What else?
I feel warm. It's, there's spices in it. So it's like the kind of the season, that apple smell. So I think of something that, with ice cream on top and the ice cream melting. So yes, I get this visual. I have an experience, I guess.
You have an experience. As soon as I say apple pie, you have an experience. How do you feel? Use a feeling word here. What things are coming up?
Just kind of nostalgia. It kind of reminds me of family, and like the homemade crusts, and just like a nice piece of apple pie.
So family, connectedness,
cozy. Yes.
Cozy. So apple pie is a really great experience for you. Now, what do you think apple pie is like for me?
I'm gonna guess you don't like pie, or
I
you
love
don't.
pie.
Okay,
I
you love
love
pie.
pie,
Okay,
but I'm gluten free.
right.
I'm gluten sensitive. So when I think apple pie, I think, I can't have it. I need to deprive myself. What's in that apple pie? Is there crust, gluten in the crust?
Is there gluten?
Possibility of getting a gluten-free option. I haven't had a good apple pie in 10 years, right? So if you write apple pie, if you make a reference to apple pie in the email to me, I have anxiety.
Mhm.
I all of a sudden need to like protect myself from having, it's a survival instinct, because I know there's going to be a physiological response
Mhm.
that will make me sick, impede my ability to work, rob me of my energy.
Hmm.
Same words, but they mean very different things to each of us, and they evoke a different feeling. We talked about fire before, using fire emojis. If you've seen me use fire emojis, it's because I think fire is great. It's on fire. It's good. Rocking it. We're burning it down. We're making it new. Like, to me, fire has great associations.
Mhm.
But Kelsey-Ann has brought up to me that a reader may not have good associations with fire.
Mhm.
Do you want to expand onto that a little bit?
Yeah,
And
sure.
you don't
Just
have to like give anybody's
no,
personal
no,
story.
no, 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 no. But just we've been having such horrible wildfires here in all over Canada, but especially, in Northwest Territories. We've had some in the Maritimes, which we generally don't experience that, and it's been scary. So wildfires to me are scary. So now fire has a different association when there's family and friends that have, escaped from Fort Mac, right? Like there's fire has a different weight and a
Mhm.
different experience for those people. So yeah, just thinking about those, I guess I never thought of apple pie the same way, but really.
So every word we use will have a different meaning, a different impact, a different
Mhm.
emotional impact on the person.
Mhm.
It will feel differently about what you're saying. So when we're using metaphors, you know, trying to think of a metaphor, and I just thought of one that's not appropriate. But you're at a crossroads, pick your direction. Okay, that might create a great visual, but if the person went through a major trauma in their life and they were given this metaphor and it was not delivered in a good way, they might have a complete like reaction to this metaphor. So when we choose our words hold a lot of power.
Mhm.
They impact. So even, in that 20%, the choice of words makes a difference.
Makes so much more difference. That's not even proper grammar, but it's more impactful. You don't realize how much impact those words have, but when you're thinking that you're only, it's only 20% that you can work with. That's wow.
Absolutely. I'm going to add another layer here to think about. And that layer is biases.
Mm.
And if you have a brain, you have bias. We have a ton of bias always, always in play. And those biases help us create shortcuts in our brain to deal with how fast we need to operate, how fast we're needing to make decisions. The fact that we have limitations on our memory. But here, what I really want to emphasize, biases also exist to help us cope with the fact that we have too much information to process. and the fact that we often don't have enough meaning. So when we're looking at that information, we don't necessarily have the meaning to make sense of it. So what we need to do is color in the blanks.
Mhm.
All right. So as the person is receiving this piece of communication that you're sending them via email or via text or via Slack, whatever channel you choose to deliver that written piece, they're going to look at that and their biases are going to kick in to color in whatever blanks,
Mhm.
whatever is missing, however they need to make meaning of what you're sending them. What's coming up for you there? I can see you deeply thinking. And I just want to take a moment to say hi to
It's just
Anik. I
like,
see you with us.
yes, it's to think about. I've never really had that, to write a quick email, all of a sudden you're backpedaling and being like, oh my gosh, like it's it's more important than you thought it was, right? I guess there's that assumption that it's just going to be a quick email and that you don't have to put that much effort into it because it's just an email.
But it's a piece of communication.
Mhm.
Mhm. And more, we're dealing with people wanting to communicate by email, avoiding the phone, avoiding meetings. And honestly, we are in a lot of meetings that maybe don't need to be happening. So I think we can be there's improvements in that department, but the fact is we are resorting to text messages, to Slack messages, to quick emails as a way to deal with the fact that we have to move fast. We need to be productive. We don't have enough time. And we have that feeling the stress is increasing. And that this is another piece I'm going to add here. As stress increases, empathy goes down. And empathy is the skill that allows us to tune into the other person to understand how this person might be taking in and interpreting this information, this communication. All right. So as we are stressed, our empathy goes down.
Mhm.
All right. With all of this said, let's talk about what to change, because I've just given you a lot of information.
Mhm.
It might feel a little daunting, but I'm going to give you like 3 small yet significant shifts that you can start doing right now in your email writing. That's going to make a difference. All right. First shift. This is going to feel a little strange for those professionals. From formal to colloquial. Let me unpack that a little bit. So cold and formal writing is going to leave the person with a certain feeling about this communication and about you. What's that feeling like, Kelsey-Ann?
Like just they don't care about me. I'm just a number.
Yeah. Too colloquial. So colloquial, what I mean by that is language that feels like everyday conversation. Okay, so tune down the formal and make it more casual. Hey, Kelsey-Ann, I'm thinking about you. I'm wondering how you're making out with XYZ. I'm concerned because blah, 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 blah. Would you mind shooting me over a quick update? Right, that's super, super colloquial. This is how we might speak if we were on the phone. Or, hello, Kelsey-Ann. I hope this email finds you well. Further to our conversation from such and such a date, please report your status update as soon as conveniently possible.
Sounds robotic. I'm laughing too because you would never talk to me like that. or
So
anybody.
emails like that, though, we'll
Right.
send emails like that. And I have totally been guilty of this. And this is like, we've gone through training to be able to write this kind of formal business communication. And yet it feels awful to be receiving it. Like, think about yourself, and when you've received a piece like this, how did you feel?
They just don't care.
Empty, don't care, disconnected. And the thing is like, as much as we want to avoid feelings, when we read, we will feel something. The recipient will feel something. Now, there is an objection that comes up, and I'm sure as you're listening to it, it's coming up for you, which is, well, if I tone down my language and if I'm not being formal and using the fancy terminology, they might think I'm stupid, or they might have a lower opinion of me.
Mhm.
What do you think about that statement? That objection?
Well, I know from your learnings or from your teachings, that most people, I think, we're supposed to be like writing at like a fifth or sixth grade level. So that's basically where we should be writing at, because that's where the most people understand, versus trying to play into our egos sometimes too.
Yeah. So who are we writing for ourselves or for them?
Right.
And if we're writing for them, we have to think about how they're going to feel reading it. And when we are using very technical language and fancy terminology that they may or may not understand, all of a sudden they might feel stupid. They might feel like they don't get it. Now they're questioning themselves. And they're questioning themselves, and they're feeling these icky feelings because of you. They're attaching these feelings of maybe incompetence. And that's, that reflects back on you.
Mhm.
So when people read a piece of email or they read a piece of communication, and all of a sudden they understand something that they didn't before, if you deliver it in a way that they feel smart, they feel like, I understand that, they're actually going to regard you much better.
Mhm.
That you're so smart, you were able to get me to teach me this thing, to
Mhm.
get me to this place. And the words that come to me as I'm sharing this is the difference between like arrogance and confident humility. Your confidence is going to shine through
Mhm.
as you're delivering the message.
Mhm.
All right. So any questions from formal to colloquial? Make sense?
Makes sense.
Use everyday conversational
And you
language.
can still be professional and use that language, right? You don't have to throw F-bombs in there to, if your everyday includes F-bombs, I would not necessarily include them in emails. But, you can still be very professional. We're very professional in the way that we communicate, and we communicate all the
Yeah, absolutely. And I do this with my clients. I do this with everyone. I really avoid cold formal writing.
Yeah.
All right. So number 2, from assumptions to questions. So instead of, when you write an email and you're all charged up and you're like, and then you spend hours going through your email and taking out all of the emotion out of the email, I'd be less concerned about the emotion, and I'd be a lot more concerned about the assumptions that you're making as you are writing this email. Because guess what? As you're writing, like we talked about the biases for the reader, we have biases as well. And we're making up things as we're going along, we're coloring in the things, we're coloring in the meaning of things. We think people know what we know. We think we know what people are thinking and feeling. We think we know why they behave. And the reality is we don't know any of these things. And so anytime we make an assumption, so this is what we're doing, we're coloring things in and we're writing from this perspective of these assumptions that we've made. The reader receives the piece of information and they're going to read the assumptions. And what's going to happen?
Well, you're telling them, right? The assumptions, they're gonna feel attacked. They're gonna feel, yeah, they're
Who do
gonna,
you think you are? They're going to feel defensive. We're tripping up the ego with our assumptions. So one of the things, if you're writing a very long and heavy email, I would actually print it out and take a highlighter and highlight anything that you don't know to be true to a complete certainty, any assumptions, anything that you've colored in the blanks. And often, like I'll give you like another example of how this happens. I'll talk to clients and I'll say, okay, well, what does this person want? And they're going to answer it as if they know. And I'm like, okay, they want that. And that's the words that they used when they told you. Oh, well, no, they didn't tell me in their own words. Okay, so how do you know this? That this is what they want? Well, I just know them. Okay. All right. So you didn't actually engage in the conversation. You didn't actually ask the question. You don't actually know this to be for sure.
Hmm.
And as I'm saying that, like I'm thinking of all the times I've done it myself. And so it's important to ask the questions. Don't like take that assumption. If you cannot find a source of that confirms that this is a truth, instead of making a statement, ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
And let me clarify, the question can be like, why did you do it that way? Again, tripping up the ego. But I'm really curious what your thought process was in doing this. Mine would have led me a different route. So I'm curious to know how that played out for you. And I'm sure I'm missing some pieces of information that are critical here in this situation. So asking a question rather than making an assumption. We trip up the ego. Man, just get on the phone. What's coming up for you, Kelsey, Ann, before I move on?
Just how when we have our discussions, you're always asking questions. So if you didn't ask questions, I would think something was wrong. And you don't ever make those assumptions to me. You're always asking questions so that I can clarify, and then we're both on the right page. And we talk about a lot of at times uncomfortable things, but because you ask the questions in the way that you do, we're able to kind of move through them very quickly and not get stuck, and they don't feel icky because we're being straightforward when we're having these conversations.
Absolutely. We can be very direct.
Yeah.
So asking a question doesn't mean we're like elongating the process or that we need to spend a lot of additional time, but we're really cutting through the potential tension and conflict and just really being direct about things. In terms of mindset, the work that I've done in mindset is training myself to believe I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know what this means. I don't know why this person is behaving. I don't know. And that keeps me curious. And it helps me avoid those assumptions. And when I have that feeling of wanting to make an assumption. So here's the thing, when our ego gets tripped, oh, assumption alley, let's just go down it, right? There's like this like immediate wanting to, I'm going to tell them, right? I know things. So when I have this urge of wanting to make a statement, so this is a little, a trigger and a mental trigger that I've set up is if I feel the urge to make a statement, I stop and I reframe in a question. So this is called what we call a mental trigger. When I feel the urge of making a statement, I stop and reframe in a question. I catch myself in the middle of conversations as well as writing emails, wanting to make statements. Do I know this to be true? No, ask a question. And your emails, so this is the beautiful thing about doing this, your like yay long email will become this. And it's a little bit painful in the beginning because you start noticing how many assumptions you're making when we're communicating. So it hurts a little to look at that, that blind spot. However, that shift is going to make a whole lot of difference. All right. Ready for number 3?
I am.
Shift number 3, my favorite shift. From unemotional to meaningful. Okay. People are going to feel something. They will feel it's part of how our biology works. All right. When we're reading a piece of email or any kind of communication, or we're hearing it or whatever, we're taking in information. We have 5 senses, we're taking in information, and internally we are comparing everything that's coming in, everything we're perceiving, to what we want and how we see ourselves. So as we're reading this email, we're comparing, we're perceiving what this is, and we're comparing it to what we want. And when there's a mismatch, we have a flood of emotions that may be more uncomfortable. And when there's a match, when what we're perceiving lines up with what we want, now we're having some of those pleasant emotions. So instead of trying to take out the emotion from your emails, let's add. Add the things that's going to help people feel good. The things that's going to help them understand what you're intending, what you're meaning. What is this about? And helping them see that what you're communicating actually pretty much lines up with what they want. So let's add meaning. I add emotions to my emails all the time. I'm so excited that. I feel concerned about. It's really important to me too. What I really would like to see and feel here is like I add a ton of emotion and meaning. Instead of taking it out and leaving a void for people to fill in the blanks, let them know.
It's just so many times people say, oh, I just have to remove the emotion. Like, I leave the emotion at the door and I don't bring that into the workplace and don't include it in your emails. And it's like, how can you not include emotions? This is part of who we are and how we process information.
Yeah. So if we don't want misinterpretations, add meaning. Tell them what this is about. Tell them what you're thinking. Tell them your intentions. I'm going to try to pull an example here. Kelsey Ann, send me a report by the end of the day. about X. What just happened internally?
A thumbs up? No. Sorry, that's what came to my mind immediately.
Oh, there's an internal joke about that.
I think some people understand what, if you get an emoji, a thumb emoji, that, you can read between those lines what that means. Politically correct by business professional, I guess. But yeah, it doesn't feel good to receive,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do it. Like, it doesn't make me. I can understand that you want it, but that's basically it. I don't understand the why behind wanting it.
Yeah.
Or the importance of it.
So, contrasted to, hey, Kelsey-Ann, I'm here thinking about the progress that we're making on the project right now. And one of my concerns is that we might be running out of time and you might need me to step in. But I don't know really where things are at, and I don't really know how to be helpful right now. So I would really appreciate if you took, and I know it's going to take some time, but if you took an hour to pull up a report so we can sync up. So in this report, I'd love to see like what's been done, what's completed, what's in progress, and what's remaining to be done. How do you feel now?
I definitely have a direction of what I need to do. It's not just give me the report. You've clearly communicated to me what you're expecting from me. So I know that I need to, in the meeting that I know that we'll book, that I need to have those 3 steps outlined for you. And that's what you're expecting to see.
Yeah. And you also know what my intentions are.
Mm-hmm. You want to be helpful, but you just don't know how to help because you don't know where I am at. And then it's, as the reader and as the employee, you're kind of like, oh, right. They don't know what I know. They don't know where I am in this process.
Yeah. I'm also very human. I have a concern. I need more information. This is my intention.
Yeah.
I'm your partner in this.
Mhm.
I'm not the person to tell you what to do. I'm here as a helper. I'm here as a colleague. I'm here as.
Yeah.
So very different feeling.
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah. And I said, I'm concerned about, this was a feeling. I added a feeling. I added my feelings. I'm not going to tell Kelsey-Ann how she feels about the project. I don't know that. That's an assumption.
Mm-hmm.
I could ask, I'm really concerned about where we're at in the project. How are you feeling about the progress so far? What are some of your concerns? Question mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can give information about my feeling. I can ask her about her feelings. All right. So I'm going to cover those 3 shifts real quick again. So number 1, from formal to colloquial. Let's have a real conversation. Take out the technical, high-level terminology. Make it easy for them to feel you, to feel connected. 2, from assumption to questions. Stop tripping up the ego and ask questions so that you can collect the information you need and help avoid your own biases. Mm-hmm. And 3rd, from unemotional to meaningful. Color in the blanks for them so they don't have to make the assumptions. They don't have to color in, because they will color in the blanks. If you leave a blank, they will color it in. How it works. This is how the brain works. It's what it wants to do. It wants to get meaning out of things. So Anik is grabbing some notes. Thank you so much. Super helpful. All right. So I hope you're walking away able to implement these shifts, and you're going to see a real difference in how people are responding to you, how they feel about your email communication. It will become easier. It's always a little awkward in the beginning to make those shifts because we're doing something different and we don't know how it's going to be received. So as you're making these shifts, as you're starting to implement it, observe how people respond. How are they reacting? What is different? You may even have people come to you and tell you that they notice a shift. This happens a lot with my clients, like all of a sudden. And what you'll see is that people are aligning, they're responding better, they're more involved, the buy-in is easier. And your long emails will become shorter ones, which saves you time. So A, you're more effective, B, less time writing emails.
Yeah. And Nick just wrote, she said, I'm literally writing an email now and applying the changes. I'm so guilty of all of these. And we all, like, everyone, before having this conversation, I didn't really realize, to think about how they are going to receive my email. Right. And it sounds ridiculous because, well, what do you mean? Because when you pick up the phone and have a conversation, you're but again, you have that 80% to rely on, that they're going to hear that tone, that you're going to be able to convey the other things that you need to convey to be able to deliver the message. But you don't realize that when you're writing those emails.
Yeah. The other thing about live conversations is that you're getting in the moment feedback, whereas you're in your email, you're not. And if this is a heavy topic, if this is a hard conversation, if this is something, write the email, but focus on an invitation so that you can have this back and forth, that you can have the in the moment feedback, that you can navigate it with.
We lost you. We lost you for a sec there, Melissa.
So, okay, perfect. Yeah. I'm so happy that it's helped. I'm back.
Yeah, you're back now.
What did you lose? did you lose anything? Just when I stopped?
Just a little bit, just to rewind a few seconds.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to close it up here. Yeah. I hope this was helpful. Please implement these. It would make my heart really happy for you to be able to write better email, be more connected to employees, be more effective, be more influential. And if you are wanting to take this to the next level, this is exactly the type of work that I do with my clients. I help leaders be more influential, have more impact, and build high-performing teams. I have an 8-week program. It's called the Executive Edge. And this is a transformation that my clients go through the period of 8 weeks. We're right now looking at opening up a November cohort. So if you are interested in building up the skills that make you influential, this is your opportunity so that you can step into 2024 with lots of confidence.
Wow, 2024. Woo!
It's right around the corner.
It's right around the corner.
It is here. It is here. So shoot me a DM and I'd be happy to get on a call, connect, explore the possibility and see if that's a good fit for you. So have a great day, everyone. Happy October. Enjoy the leaves falling. My son was like, oh, I really love the fall, the leaves fall. I'm like, yes, one step closer to winter. That's the association for me. Mm-hmm. All right. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.